liberty, and justice for all.
All right. Oops. Who's running the show here? Okay, let's do the four-way test of the things we think.
Say or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? It will be better to all concerned.
All right, please take a seat. And let's just give a big aww. Greg Myers, who is a member of our club. He's been traveling a lot, so we haven't seen him and obviously doing some other things. So, so this is his wife and their new baby, Louise Emerson Myers. So congratulations, Greg. How sweet. And this is the inspiration. So I went through some Rotary quotes and I love this. It says, doing good feels good. It may sound cheesy and we obviously don't encourage volunteering solely for selfish reasons. But that being said, common opinion is that people who volunteer are happier. How awesome is that? And that was from a Rotaract club. And and with that, we have Chuck for the pause for the cause.
What were those things? There was like, Chuck. Ooh, Chuck. Okay, so who liked breakfast this morning? Who liked the casserole? I was hopeful if you didn't, you wouldn't tell me. If you did, tell me. That was me, yeah. I stayed up since 3 in the morning, so I'm a little tired today. Oh, there. So as many of you know, some of you don't know, I was the past president before Mindy, before Erica, and I was the best president of them all. Yeah.
You're all that humble.
They told me I couldn't do that, but I just did it. So what else? Anyway, so I was the past president in 23-24. And obviously we have Mindy now. And you may or may not know, as members of the club, through the foundation, we give back a President's Award every single year. And I went back and asked some of the old presidents, what'd you do? And Larry Kane was honored to give to the Evergreen Corral back in his day as president. Mary Ann was the Rotary Wildfire Ready, back to Cindy and everything in her year. And then Russell I asked as well, and his was back to the Legacy Fund. And if you think about the Legacy Fund, that's taken into account things like the Echo Food Truck, contributing to that, and a number of other things around Evergreen. So a little history there, but this year I chose, and it comes from some things that the presentations, the speakers that we get up here, when they touch you, and you kind of know. And I know there's been tears in my eyes for a couple of them. One of them was Camp Comfort in Mount Evans. So if you please come up, Ashlyn, come on up. We have a $3,000 check for Mount Evans Camp Comfort to put to good use, and hopefully you can take that and have some more camps and do some great things with all the kiddos that you support.
Thank you so much. Very kind.
One other one, as I mentioned, I chose to split it up. The other one was Echo Christian Outreach, and Dale, come on up. Thank you. There you go. You do so much for the community, all the food drives that we do, the shelters. I'm planning on, I talked to him this morning about possibly working there on Thanksgiving. And so it's pretty cool to see this come back together and be able as a group, you all, not me, you all, to put your money to good use and back to our community and to Evergreen. So thank you very much for everything that you've done to support me, and also have some fun during my year, and hopefully I'll continue on.
Adrian, do you want to come? And thank you guys for coming. I know we had to reschedule from last week and thank goodness you could come because Chuck would have spent the money on. All right, it's time for guests. Well,
So we're kind of excited to have Jim Halderman back, so thank you so much. From Golden Rotary today. And then we'll Ashland Evans, thank you. And Dale, thank you for me and Miss Connie Ning, and she even took an application. Okay. And kind of last minute, I was asked to do some Thanksgiving trivia. So let's see how it goes. What is the way to fix a broken pumpkin? A pumpkin patch. Why did the cranberry blush? It saw the turkey dressing. And then the last one, what did the Thanksgiving turkey say to the Christmas ham? Nice to meet you. And last but not least, an Evergreen Rotary president wanted to remind us for Thanksgiving that alcoholism is a disease. So I asked my favorite bartender and he said, come on in for a free shot.
Okay. All right, so we have some president-elect announcements today. And as our inspiration was volunteering, I just have a few pictures at some Rotarians at work this week. First, we have the soldier bags last night, stuffing the bags, and there is Jamie with her underwear and but thank you. And I'm glad we could reschedule that too, Gail. That was great turnout. I mean, it lasted what, maybe a half hour? There were so many people there. Okay, good. And then yesterday also, I want to thank everybody that came out for the Seniors for Wellness luncheon. We had, I think, 13 volunteers. So thank you for coming out and supporting our seniors. And I had a lot of fun greeting with Chris and I and Richard, and just hearing the people, how happy they were and love the food. So next year, please come and help or encourage come to the luncheon yourself or encourage your friends and neighbors to come because they really do put on a great thing. And the oh gosh, I just lost it. The people that do the food, actually it's a chef. So the food was delicious. So Knights of Columbus. All right. I'm sure you all noticed the new cards on your table that have our new sponsors. So now we have 2 new sponsors this year, which is Jennifer Herrick. I saw you over there. And then Linda Lovin. So thank you guys to our new sponsors. And it's a great, yeah. And I believe that Tim did the layout on it. So I love it. I think it looks great. Okay, so Seniors for Wellness, we have a new van and we are looking for drivers. So we were looking for volunteer drivers. We're hoping to get a driver one day out of the month. So like you say, oh, I'll do the first of the month, whatever day it is. If that doesn't work out, that's fine. But it's a minivan, so it's not like you have to have your CDLs or you're gonna have to be backing up a big rig. So if you are interested, please let me know. We just need your driver's license and then they'll do a check on that. And we will do training as well. So it is wheelchair accessible. And we will be taking people to their doctor's appointments down the hill, grocery shopping, hair appointments, whatever they need. And I think we can fit probably 4 or 3 in a wheelchair. So it's really nice. And it's brand new. Okay, so today, I know Gail's going to talk about it, but you still have time to help with the veterans backpacks. She'll be at Wild Game after the meeting. Salvation Army bell ringing. If Dave didn't catch you when you came in, they'll catch you when you go out. So please make sure that you sign up. I'm sure you'll probably stand up and talk about it a little bit too. It's a fun thing to do. Grab somebody, grab your family. Have some fun with it, and it goes to such a good cause. Rowdy Rotarians, December 6th at Mountain Home. I hope you all saw the Sign Up Genius that went out. The reason we did the Sign Up Genius is just so we know how many people are parking. It doesn't matter how many people we have, we just have cars. And so we'll do the 4:30, the Peace Pole induction. So if you can get there, and then we'll have s'mores, and we're going to have hors d'oeuvres and drinks, and there's going to be a food truck and a coffee truck. So please make sure you sign. If you don't sign up, I mean, you can still come, obviously, and then we can do the holiday walk. We have the Ungers holiday party, December 22nd. And I believe Rita sent out the announcement, but please RSVP to the Ungers so that they know how many to expect. And then I kind of went out of order, but coming up before Rowdy Rotarians, we also have the Rotary holiday party.
Everybody. Good morning.
Eric, I need that one.
Good morning. Oh, Katie, look at this crowd this morning.
It's great, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I wonder if they would be up for a knock-knock joke this morning.
What do you think?
Knock, knock.
Honda. On the first day of Christmas, my true love came to me. Let's do another one.
Let's do another one.
Knock, knock. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
One more.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Freeze.
Breeze.
Freeze who?
Freeze a jolly good fellow. Freeze a jolly good fellow. Freeze a jolly good fellow.
Oh, Katie, what we're really here to talk about today is the holiday party. Why don't you get out our naughty list and let us see who hasn't signed up for the holiday party?
You know, Santa, before I get to the naughty list, I'm gonna mention a couple of nice Rotarians who've already signed up.
Ooh,
Jenny has already signed up. Scott has already signed up. Kimra, Gail, the list goes on. There are a few people on the naughty list that haven't signed up. And I'm sorry that Alan isn't here, but Russell, if you please tell him that not only is Santa not pleased, but we understand he's been banished to Australia for the Christmas holiday.
Oh, Katie, that's so great. Well, you have an opportunity to sign up for this amazing holiday party. You're not going to want to miss it. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Sign up, register when you can, watch for the email. Ho, ho, ho,
Santa,
Katie.
will you please quit calling me that name?
If that doesn't entice you to get to the party, I don't know what will. And Katie has done a great job of planning it, and it will be fun. So let's see. Let's go ahead with general announcements. Please make sure that you say your name first and last, and come on up. Don't be shy. I know we have announcements.
Hi, everyone. Deb Sandler, bag lady, fair lady with Connie name of the Rockies. I'm here to remind you about next Friday here at Center for the Arts. We're looking for interested businesses and individuals who want to do sponsorships or have your events here in this lovely room or in the gallery. So November 22nd at noon, you can come over here and have some lunch and learn about your opportunities for that.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you. Oh my God, you guys came back. The donations were awesome. I think we will probably have enough for 500 backpacks. My fingers are crossed. Yeah, it was great. We also had enough, we had probably $800 of money donated. So we were able to watch and see what we needed last night after sorting, and we sent a couple people to Walmart and filled in any holes that we had. So that was great. We had Rotarians there, which was wonderful. We had 2 kids from Conifer High School bring things over. The kids from Conifer High School I called that had helped in the past, that stood outside of a Safeway in Conifer to collect items, for several weekends. I called him at the beginning of this year and he said, "Mrs. Sharp, I'm actually in college now. I'm down in North Carolina. I'm able to help you." But he said, "I've passed your name along to, to a couple of kids." Well, these kids came and they brought bags and bags and bags of stuff and they were so excited. And the guy last night, one of the kids, he texted me and said, "Well, I was so inspired after what I saw last night. I have a lot of ideas of how we need to partner and do this as a year-long event. And I want to start putting it on social media." And I mean, it was adorable. And then the other wonderful thing was we had 15, I mean, there's only one employee from Tallgrass, as I mentioned, we had our big event yesterday. But we had 15 people from across the community that came, and I didn't know most of them. And they just heard about it and got involved, and it was such a cool community thing to just have strangers just walk in and start working. So heartwarming, wonderful. I think we have a lot of stuff. So I think, yeah, this is the picture of the gang last night. And last night we had everything pretty much done in 20 minutes. I mean, it was organized, so people just came in and did their thing and boom, it was done. So this morning will probably be the same. We will probably get it done in about 30 minutes, maybe even less. Looking at Bob reminds me, we also had probably 8 veterans come, a lot that had never been before, and that was heartwarming and wonderful too. So fabulous, fabulous, exciting, inspiring thing. Thank you all so much.
Kimra Perkins, and I have a fabulous opportunity for you. Maybe you're reeling against seeing so much holiday decor so early, sometimes even before October, but it's in your future right now. So we're trying to build awareness and build action for Rotary International Foundation. So Kurt Harris has announced this program, and I kind of wanted to add some incentive. So anyone who gives me or Kurt between now and the end of the year a donation to Rotary International or Polio Plus, you can give us a check. You can go online and just tell us about your donation. You're going to win a fabulous prize of your own. You could win one of these fabulous hats. Jim Halderman, would you please stand up here for me? It was a past district governor, our speaker today, and he is going to model what could be yours. So there we go. Help build peace, help build awareness, be part of the solution, and make a donation to Rotary International anytime between now and the end of the year.
Morning, Rotary. I'm Dave Laughlin, and you probably saw me out front here this morning as you were coming in. And just wanted to remind everybody, I'm really happy to tell you that I think we've gotten over 40, maybe 45 signups for the 100 slots for the Salvation Army. And that begins, believe it or not, tomorrow. And I've only got 2 slots to fill for this weekend. They're at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Sunday. I know the temperature starts to drop pretty rapidly, but if you dress accordingly, I think it would be fun. Would love to get that. And just want to remind you guys, I'll send out another, what do you call it, Sign Up Genius. And get that link so that everybody can take advantage of that. And but thank you, and take a look at that and get signed up as soon as you can. Thank you.
Good morning, David Sheasley. I would like to thank Jeff Stone and Chris Casey for helping me plant a peace pole over at Mountain Home. It's installed successfully. We had a good time doing it. Went very well. And Jeff and I have nominated Chris as a permanent member of the Peace Pole Planting Team. And anybody else that would like to be on that list, please let me know. I'll be putting more in the spring. I'm going to take the winter off, but that way. The other thing on my mind is I've had some interest from different people in the club about billiards, which is something that I have a particular interest in. If anybody would be interested in forming a billiard club, I would be happy to host it and put it together. Just let me know. Thank you.
So Chris Kazian, apparently part of the Peace Pole planting team. And, so you sign up here at Rotary, you just get sucked right in. So it's the beautiful part about it. So I'm also the chair, speaking of talking to someone and getting sucked right in, I'm the chair of the Community Services Committee. And we're always looking for more people to help support all the different things. We do so many different activities in our club around community service. And so we just had a meeting 2 nights ago. Lots of projects going on, lots of opportunities. We have some grant opportunities and some funding, undesignated funding opportunities. So if you and the club have a thought or an idea that we could be doing something in our community, we're looking for champions, looking for opportunities to continue to do great work in our community. Feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to champion a project, if you'd like to think about something the club might be interested in, or just join the committee and get your feet wet like I did, and you can be the chair. Second note, you might all be wondering why this beautiful mustache is adorning this beautiful face. This is November, and November is Men's Health Awareness Month. And so Men's Health Awareness Month, they talk about prostate testicular cancer, and awareness is there. And I have some very close people that I work with that are experiencing both of those types of cancers. So I decided I'd sport this beautiful thing here for everyone to see. My wife doesn't talk to me now. It's beautiful. I might keep it. It's also an awareness of mental health, men's mental health. 60 men commit suicide an hour. And just that statistic hit me pretty hard. And we all understand the challenges with mental health and issues there. So November is a thing. I got a pretty cool page. If you Google me on Movember and my name, you'll find it. We're raising a little bit of money. If you want to throw something our way to help support it, that's great. But just remembering those with cancer and the mental health piece and how beautiful this mustache is. It's coming off soon. It's killing me. So anyway, thank you all.
Good morning, Jamie Myers, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Family of Rotary. How many of you see my emails and read them? Okay. And probably are going, what in the world does this mean? So I've been supporting Family of Rotary for quite a while now in the club. And I wanted to share with you my own personal experience a little bit and what Family of Rotary can do for all of us. Right now, we're helping Kevin and Christy McGuire, and I'll continue to update you and send you emails about that. But several years ago, my past husband was diagnosed with cancer, a terminal cancer, that his journey was about 3 years. And during that time, I'm really not sure I would have survived if it wasn't for many of you in this room. People I really didn't know very well,
showed up on my doorstep with food. I think I gained about 20 pounds during that 3 years. But in addition to that, this is some of the stuff that Family of Rotary touched me with. One night, 3 of you showed up with your spouses. My husband was pretty much bedbound at that time. Had soup, all of us sat in a bed with a huge dog and lots of hair, and made him laugh for several hours. In addition to that, some people showed up and raked all the needles in our yard. One of the best things that happened was one of you gave us a trip to Mexico, so Robert and I could enjoy his final days on his final trip. One of you gave us your timeshare in Winter Park, so we could enjoy a week up there. These are all the things that touched me from Family of Rotary. And probably one of the most things were how many of you were with me the day he passed away and held me and held him and helped me through a very difficult time. One of the great things that happened was he died in January, and that next February on Valentine's Day, one of you guys sent me flowers. And that was very, very special. So that's why I do Family of Rotary. I hope I've inspired you a little bit today when I send out those emails and say, hey, this is going on. Can you help us out? That you step up and support our members, because we are a family. Thank you.
Mine is a very short thing because I came in late. And I want to tell you why I came in late. John Spalding. I thought, I'm so old, and you're so long, you would know me, but there's a lot of new people. But here's what I did. Okay, and this is really the pits. I want to tell you, I'm telling you the pits. Okay, so I was helping pack these bags, and we were in Walmart last night picking up some more underwear. I was packing the bag with underwear. And then I thought, wow, nobody's got any socks. And so I went to Linda there and I says, hey, did we have socks? To put in the bag, because they're not in socks in there. And I called Gail this morning early to say if it'd be okay, but she was already gone. And so anyway, I hopped out to Walmart. She said, you have to talk to the manager. He's coming in. So the manager comes in. I meet 3 managers coming down the aisle. I think, Holy Spirit's with me today. And right? So then I said, hey, I'm from Rotary, I'm going to do donations, and I need 500 pairs of socks. And he looks at me and he says, oh, well, that's okay. That's fine. And so we get another manager, we go back and we pick out the black socks. I figured we're not going to be able to wash them very well, of all sizes. And you get them all up there, a big bag of a box of black socks and all this. Then I brought some bags and bought some more bags, and we're packing them up. And we're getting ready to go. And she calls me and she says, oh, I'm sorry. You can't take those. You have to pay for it, $408. And so I was about ready to do it, but I thought, no, he said he was donating. He said, oh, no, he couldn't say that. I said he was, because I told him I worked in Rotary and you could come and we would thank you and all that. Oh, no, you have to go through corporate. You have to put a form. You have to do this. I thought, man, I had to do all of that. Okay, and that's detail, which I didn't get the detail, but he thought it was donating. I thought it was donating. The manager thought it was donating, but somehow when he called corporate, they knocked him out. And he ended up putting back 500 pairs of socks. So next year, that's what I'm saying is, next year, if we pack the bags, let's talk about socks. I don't even know if Gail wants socks, but I just thought that'd be a good thing to have a pair of socks. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So many great announcements, so much going on good in the community and in the world. So now we are ready for our speaker. Ted, you want to come up and introduce him?
Well, we're fortunate again to have Jim Halderman as our speaker. I think we all know that he's a past district governor. He's a great communicator. And then personally, he has taught me some lessons on salesmanship. The personal lesson I have for Jim is that he's the first person who's ever told me how to deal with someone who says no. And that the real skill of salesmanship is when you hear a no, that you immediately, instead of normal reactions, you pull back. But he's taught me, the next question is tell me more. And he's really helped me a lot in fundraising. Today, he's going to talk about a topic, which is the myth of logic. And so here we have Jim Halderman.
Thank you, Ken. So I'm going to say a word, and I'm hoping that you will give me the very first word that comes to mind when I say the word car. What comes to mind, Gary? So, salesman. Driver. Tires. What comes to mind? The first word that comes to mind when I say car. Feathering? What's the first word that comes to mind when I say car? Gasoline. I thought I knew what the word car meant. Over 800,000 words in the English dictionary. In the unabridged dictionary, we use on average 800 words in a daily use. Of those 800 words, there are 14,000 meanings of those words, which means there's on average 17 meanings for every word we use in the English language. How on earth do we possibly communicate? Albert Moravian said in the 70s, a term that many of us, a number that many of us have heard, but really do we understand what it means? In the 70s, Albert Moravian, who is a research psychologist, actually quantified that we communicate 55% through our body, 38% on the tonality of our words, and 7% of the communication is our words. Now, I even question the 7%, as you heard. When I say any one word, I could use any word, tree, house, whatever, any noun. I come up with, everybody has a different immediate thought. So how do we even possibly communicate? So the end and the meaning resides, of course, in the listener, not in the giver of the word. So how do we possibly communicate? So today, in the 3 hours Ted said I have, I'm going to talk about 1 second of our life. Between stimulus and response, there's a space, and that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. So I'm going to talk about 1 second. Sometimes I name this talk, give me 1 second of your life and I can change your life. That was by Viktor Frankl. So how do we come about our beliefs? How do we come about our thoughts? How do we communicate? How do we develop that, who we are and everything? Of course, we have 3 brains. We have 3 parts of the brain. There are some current neuroscientists that say, oh, no, this is not true. All major neuroscientists start out teaching that we, in fact, have 3 parts to our brain. Keeping in mind that the very first, the very bottom, the reptilian brain, the animal brain, which the snake has, is our fight, flight, freeze, food, sex, and that's pretty much all it is. That was the first brain that we had. That was 3 million years old. The middle brain is only about 2 million years old, with our thinking brain added at the end. So they function completely different, but though there's a lot of interrelationships. The important part of this, when you're born with the reptilian brain in full function, because it's operating your heart, your lungs, and your breathing, and your food, and your reproduction, with your food and digestion, etc. So you're born with a fully functional reptilian brain. That's all. Nothing else is fully formed, because when you come out of the canal, your skull actually collapses. So you don't have a fully functioning brain until you come out. You come out with gobs, millions upon millions of neurons, which we're going to talk a little bit about, which start connecting the instant you come out as you begin to experience life. So you come into this world with great potential, but not really much there. So, and I'm not trying to teach you neuroscience, that's a little bit more.
But what's fascinating to me about this little monster behind me is the fact that this is where mind body truly is one. The mind and the body becomes one in the neuron. You have 85 billion of them. A lot of textbooks say 100 million. Finally, some neuroscientists 4 years ago learned how to actually count them and found, oh no, we only have 85 billion neurons. But each neuron has potential 1,000 connections, which means we have over 1,000 trillion possible thought connections. So we have a lot of potential within that. But the exciting part about this, what goes on in this neuron, it creates what we call the neurotransmitters, which are our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our actions. It causes everything. You think something, and it causes an electrical chemical reaction, and the body responds accordingly. So the mind and body truly is one at that particular point. So if those 85 billion neurons create on or about, we know now about 200 different neurotransmitters, which are the chemicals that cause us to do what we do. When I started studying this about 10 years ago, we knew that there were about 60 neurotransmitters. Today, now we know there's about 200. Why is that? It wasn't until 1992, which they created what we call the fMRI, an expansion of the MRI. It was the first time in 1992 that we could look at a human brain in action. Prior to 1992, 100% of our knowledge of the human brain was from people that had major accidents or loss of part of their brain, and they would, what effect did that have on the individual? Military soldiers returning from war was one of the largest sources of our knowledge of brains, when they would come back with a part of the brain missing. What is the effect of that? That was the primary knowledge of how we learned about the brain until 1992, which was the first time we could actually see a brain in action. And so since then, there has been so much information, and you read so much about, I mean, now everything is neuro this, neuro that, because of the amount of knowledge that we have. So of these 200 neurotransmitters, there's about 8 or 10 that we really focus on and care about and pay attention to. You've heard the terms of dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin. Those are the happy chemicals. And when the dopamine makes you feel good about yourself, serotonin and GABA make you feel good about the life. Oxytocin is known as our love chemical. When a mother gives birth, she is flooded with oxytocin, which creates that bond. You've heard of surrogate mothers and then carry the baby through the term and everything is going great until she gives birth, and then she refuses to give the baby up. And they don't account. And that's because of the oxytocin. The mother is flooded with that chemical that creates such a strong bond at that point. The mother cannot give it up. Oxytocin is created by any time you handshake, any physical touch, a hug creates that connection, that bond. And so how do we create, when we're trying to connect with somebody, how do we create that oxytocin? And in the handshake, and knowing that the handshake, the emotional part of a handshake is the soft skin in the middle between the thumb and first finger. So when you shake hands, connect that center part, and that creates an oxytocin, and that's what creates that connection, why a handshake is so valuable. The same with a hug, though please get permission first before you do that hug. But all of those create that possible connection and the love. So those are the feel good, and of course all your drugs, your Prozacs, your Luvox, Xanax, Valiums, all of those create the feel good drugs, making you feel better. And when they give you those drugs and they say, oh, if there's any feeling of suicide, please call. It's in that attempt to balance how much is too much. when you take too much, again, when we take illicit drugs, when we go out and start doing street drugs, you replace which is floods you with dopamine, but the brain actually knows how much you should have. So when you take illicit drugs, the brain says, wait a minute, you're getting way too much. And so the brain stops manufacturing those drugs. That's why you get quote unquote hooked on the drug. And then the withdrawal means you're trying to get off that drug, but the brain is not making it. So you go through this horrendous experience of readjusting the brain. The brain has phenomenal plasticity. One of my taglines of some of my trainings is, you have the equal power to cure yourself as you do to hurt yourself. The brain has phenomenal plasticity. It can repair itself and rebuild itself. So anyway, it's important to understand this, because whenever somebody says something nice to you, the brain gives you a shot of dopamine. When somebody says something mean to you, you get a shot of cortisol. Cortisol is one of the most common. There's several others, norepinephrine, adrenalines, but whenever you get upset, your body floods you with cortisol. Well, the effects of the cortisol is they disconnect your thinking brain, your middle brain, which is your emotional brain. And again, I didn't cover enough. You come out with a full reptilian brain, which means that your middle brain and later your top brain, your thinking cortex brain, are developing externally. Keeping in mind that DNA is a blueprint. But as any builder builds the house, he may want to move the wall over here a few inches, or he may want to change this in the building, or he may miss a dimension and make it a little differently. A DNA is merely the blueprint of who we will be, which controls some things, certainly not everything. No matter how much I stretch and I work and I hang myself and I do all kinds of things, I will probably never be 6 foot tall, try as I may. However, there is a tremendous amount of things that I can change. I can decide if I'm happy, I can decide if I'm sad, depending on where I look, what I would focus on, and how I respond. Happiness is, quite frankly, always a choice. There's always an opportunity to find something good, and there's certainly equally always something opportunity to find negative. So where is our focus? Where do we live? And that choice, that simple choice of where do I look at life? What do I see? How do I interpret? Determines which one of those neurotransmitters that I'm going to create. So we have that choice instantly, and we can change how we are instantly by where our focus is, by creating those different neurotransmitters. So one of this slide's not completely clear, but what it demonstrates is the bottom left. You have all of the symbols, because everything that you feel, see, hear, touch goes to the middle emotional brain first. It's a paved highway. It's instant, long before it gets to the thinking brain, the cortex. Time-wise, if any of you have read Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow, good book on the mind. He talks about system 1, system 2, system 1, the fast system, system 2, the slow system. What he's talking about is the middle brain is fast. How fast? When somebody walks into the room, within 13 milliseconds, you will make a decision about that person. For the non-mathematical people, there's 1,000 milliseconds in a second. So 13 thousandths of a second, you will make a decision emotionally, unconsciously, about an issue. Something you heard, something you see. Within 13 milliseconds, your emotional brain will make that decision. To get up to your thinking brain, the very healthiest brain is 700 milliseconds, typically closer to 2000 or 2 full seconds before you think. So this is, if any of you have ever heard of the subliminal messaging, you know, in the 70s, they outlawed subliminal messages in the movie theaters because in the 70s, they were still showing a picture of popcorn and a Coke for a half a second. You did not visually consciously see it. But your brain said, I need popcorn and Coke, without you ever knowing where that came from. Chevrolet was just doing the word Chevrolet on your television for half a second. You never saw it. But the next time you went out to buy a car, the first thought came to mind was Chevrolet, because it's implanted into your unconscious brain without you knowing about it, without you even aware. So this unconscious awareness, it happens long before the conscious brain kicks in. So it's interesting. So you've heard of people jumping to conclusions and things like that. How do you control, so how do you get to the logical mind? And of course, the more cortisol, the more adrenalines, the more of the negative neurotransmitters we're creating, the more we disconnect from our thinking brain. So if I'm getting to know somebody, if I'm talking to somebody and I say something negative, I just separate their thinking brain. When I teach anger management, it's an hour-long section just to get people to understand, what in high school we learned about red flags, the emotional red flags. So, but really, what are they? And getting people to understand what are the triggers, what causes those, and how do we control those? Because when we, I work on a scale of 1 to 10. What makes you angry at a scale of 1? What makes you angry at a scale of 10? Or in between, recognizing that by the time we get up to 5, we are literally disconnected from our thinking brain. So recognizing when it's time to step away, suggest another time that we can get together later. So, and the more we live in stress, the more we disconnect from this. And the amygdala, which again, 2 million years ago, was the decider whether you or the saber-toothed tiger had lunch. And it was the amygdala that controlled you and protected you from that. And you got to decide, what's going on. And the amygdala is your protector. It's in the middle brain. It's a little almond shaped. It's Greek for almond because it's a tiny little almond shape. It's your total emotion. The more we live in stress, the larger the amygdala is. The more we live in stress, the larger the amygdala becomes. The more we live in calmness, the more we shrink our amygdala. The more we live in happiness, the more we shrink our amygdala. The more happiness we become. It is cyclic. So how do you control? How do you actually change the size of your amygdala? In 2017, there was a gentleman by the name of Abe Honnold. If any of you have ever seen the movie that was created on PBS, a documentary of the gentleman who freestyle climbed El Capitan. No ropes, no anything, 3,000 foot of a granite cliff, no ropes at all. I get 10 feet off the ground and I'm scared to death. How in the heck did he get to be that high? And in checking, in fact, I learned this in our neuroscience class, he has a very small amygdala. He is emotion free. He had practiced, he knew what steps to take, he knew where to go and how to do it. But he was completely emotional free. He could stay in that logical experience by keeping the amygdala small. He was able to be totally present, totally conscious. And in the documentary, it talks about his relationship with his lady friend because no emotions works very well in certain applications, but certainly not in all applications. Decision making on love or something, well, let me make a list, and it's the research when we lose our emotional brain, it's quite interesting. But it happens. So how do you shrink your amygdala, and how do you shrink so you stay more in control? Because if we can create that small amygdala, we can move into our cortical thinking quicker. And that's how so we can stay in a more conscious brain. And, meditation is one of the most common ways. And when we use the word meditation, so many people still think somehow it's a spiritual experience. Meditation it has nothing to do with spiritual. You can use it as a way of connecting. But meditation is nothing more than sitting quietly, trying to shut down that active mind. As a matter of fact, if any of you tried to start thinking about meditation, the first time we meditate, we sit there and say, oh, meditating, I'm going to be quiet. Okay, shut that down. It doesn't happen easily. It doesn't happen overnight. But even the decision to meditate starts slowing the brain. It's you taking control. But when you try to meditate, and when you're going, you realize how little control you have on your own brain. How little control you have. So how do you gain that control, and how do you stay in that cortical thing when we want to communicate on a logical basis? Logic. What is logic? My definition of logic is as logic is your interpretation of your life's experience. So we each have a different value of logic. What is logic? And there are those that don't just be logical. Just think. Just be realistic. Can't you just be logical? Which means, please think the way I'm thinking. That's what logic is. Our interpretation of our life's experience, nothing more. So, you said I had 3 hours? An hour and 45. So, this is getting too serious. This is looking at academic, but don't get too hung up on this slide, but the thing about this slide is you've got two little round spots here in your thinking brain. One is called, of all things, ventromedial prefrontal cortex. That's over here, and then you have the dorsal lateral. If you've ever had to sit there and decide, God, I want that second cookie, but I know I shouldn't have that second cookie. I really want that second cookie. I need to buy me my fancy sports car. No, I can't afford its fancy. Have you ever been in that decision making? Should I, shouldn't I? Is he, isn't he? Is she not? In that decision making, we have part of our thinking brain connected to our emotional brain, which drives us crazy. We have part of our brain over here, which is our Dr. Spock. And these two are all constantly fighting back and forth. And which one wins, the logical or the emotional, again, goes back to the size of our amygdala. What is the emotional override? I love that cookie. It's going to make me happy. It's going to build dopamine. I'm going to eat that second cookie. The emotional part will take over. No, I really can't. I really shouldn't. I need to be more healthy oriented. The logical brain is taking over. And again, it deals with the size of our amygdala, which the decision is. But if we're stuck in the middle, then that's life. It happens. But again, it's these two parts of the brain that battle amongst themselves. And the interesting part for all of you who have studied the philosopher Thomas Hobbes, the English philosopher, who says that man is inherently selfish and violent, Machiavellian, or is it Jean-Jacques Rousseau who said that the natural goodness of people is we live by our better angels. So here we have two major philosophers that are giving two different definitions of who we are. And hopefully through this, you understand that who we are, which one are we, the Hobbes or are we the Rousseau, determines literally on our upbringing, our life. And many of you, if you're familiar at all with what now is referred to as ACE scores, your adverse childhood experience, the Kaiser medical world discovered through, heavens, quite a while ago, a doctor was beginning to measure older people's illnesses and ask them about their life experiences. And he began seeing patterns, and he spoke with other doctors who did the same thing. And eventually research was done and they came up with what today we know as ACE scores. There's 10 questions I can ask you about your upbringing, and I will know what diseases you are going to have as an older person. ACE scores, Google it, there's GOBS on it, ACE, adverse childhood experience. What was your life like as a child? We will know what diseases typically you will experience in the later years. These can be confronted. There are things you can do if you're aware of that. But if we don't deal with those things, and so but more than that, it's that strong indication. Were you born rural? Were you born urban? Were you born poor? Were you born rich? Completely forms our personality, who we are. We can change our personality at any time. I can't be 6 foot tall, but I can be a real jerk if I want to be. And there are times when I have it. Or I can choose to smile at life and go on. So we talk about polarization. We talk about the challenges of communication. And how do we deal with that? And when we are dealing with somebody, as a matter of fact, I'm in the middle of writing a book and putting a book on this and going in much more. And in it, I talk about a question that was asked by an Evergreen Rotary member the last time I spoke to your club, who asked, can we talk about politics or can we talk about religion? Because we can talk about anything, and we need to talk about politics, religion. Oh, how much time do I have? Am I done? I've got 2 minutes. Oh, I can change the world in 2 minutes. Develop the relationship. Oh, be aware in communication. The average person speaks 125 to 150 words a minute. You hear at an average of 600 to 800 words a minute. So this is why and how you have plenty of time to be forming your answer long before you hear the question. This is the time when you can focus on what's going behind the person that you're speaking with. So it requires focus to stay attention. Why don't we ask more questions? And if we're trying to connect with somebody, keep in mind the 70-30 rule and make sure you are the one speaking the 30% of the time. If you want to connect with and make a friend. 9 reasons we don't ask more questions: feels rude, afraid of the answer. Maybe they're an authority figure, feels vulnerable, submissive. If I'm having to ask questions, wait a minute, I'm the guru. Why would I ask you? Because I'm the guru. What's the childhood messages? Children should be seen, not heard. You ask them any questions. We assume the right answer. We assume others already know. We assume always beneficial to answer. So there's many reasons we don't ask more questions. So we need to become aware and learn to ask more questions. I would love to go on. I will choose to close there. So I think I got time for one question. Sure.
What role does nutrition play in the size of your?
What role does nutrition play? Oh my word. Immensely. Immensely. You can control the neurotransmitters, you control everything by your diet. I'll leave it at that because I can go on and on. I'd love to. Yes, that's a major chapter. But yes, diet affects how you think, who you are, what you have. greens, protein, yeah, anyway, yes, the answer is yes.
Around for a little bit if people have questions.
I would.
So in honor of you speaking today, we are still trying to eradicate polio. So we will donate 60 vials of the vaccine in your name. So thank you so much.
Great.
Now I know you're all gonna go out and judge people within 13 milliseconds. All right, you guys. Well, to end the day, thank you so much for putting up with me and to put a damper on the day, today is National Day of Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. Go out, make it a great day and spread the magic of Rotary. Thanks.